The last CD I'm going to showcase is going to be the one CD that will not be in the collection. Welcome to Brier's Music Showcase. I'm Parsons and welcome back to another video. And it's that time once again where I showcase all the CDs I acquired throughout the month. And I am pretty much back to my normal buying habits, because in this video we are talking about over 50 CDs here. So technically 59, but if you really want to get technical, I'm going to be showing I guess 60, because I'm going to be honest, there's going to be one CD that's actually not entering the collection. So you'll find out which one that will be, but hopefully you still enjoy these monthly CD hauls. If you do, please give these a like, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the first category of CDs I'm going to be showcasing are CDs that are part of an album exchange that I've been talking about pretty much monthly now, but it's just the six of us, and I already own two of them. I know my pick, I chose Tina Turner, Private Dancer, and I think Jacob, he suggested Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. And I already have those two, like I said, but these are the remaining four that I didn't own. So just to kind of spitball them real quick, we have Harper's Bazaar, Feeling Groovy. And then we have Relient K, The Autonomy of the Tongue-in-Cheek. And then after that, we have Razorlight with their self-titled album. And then next up, we have The Verve, Urban Hymns. Hopefully I said that right. So I'm not going to give my thoughts on any of these, because again, these are meant for the album exchange. So I'm just going to give brief overviews on these. So first up, we have the Harper's Bazaar. They're kind of a 60s pop band, and the one thing that's worth noting about this is that this is actually, I guess this is where Ted Templeman got his start. Now, if you don't know Ted Templeman, he would go on to be a very famous producer. He's worked with many bands, but probably the most notable ones are the Doobie Brothers and Van Halen, especially their first couple albums. So this is kind of like an interesting little history thing. If you're into Ted Templeman's work, this is kind of where he got his start. So that's kind of cool. Okay, and then we have Relient K. Oh, by the way, this was Nick's suggestion, and this was Jason's, I believe. So Relient K, they're kind of a Christian punk band, if I'm not, based on what I researched on them. So it's a pretty long album. There's 17 tracks on these, but at least the songs are short, so that's probably a good thing. So again, not going to say much else on this. And now we have Adam's pick. This is Razorlight. Again, they're a UK band and probably not really known here in America. But I do some research. I found they're kind of like this sort of indie rock, sort of post-punk sort of sound. So I like post-punk. So again, we'll see if I enjoy this. But what's funny about this CD is that you can't really see it, but there's a hype sticker, and it quotes the best. Well, this is according to Q Magazine. The best guitar album since Definitely Maybe, of course, by Oasis. So does that hold true? We'll find out. I'm not going to say what it is, but yeah, that's kind of a bold statement to claim. But yeah, it must have been pretty big in the UK. Again, I'm not 100% sure. And then we have The Verve, another UK band. It's a Scott's pick, and The Verve were a pretty well-known UK band. This is probably one of their last albums, but yeah, it's kind of seen as a pretty influential album in the Britpop scene. It's pretty sure I said this already, but it's pretty ambitious. They're incorporating more psychedelic elements into it. So, but there you go. So of these four, and I forgot to do this last month, but I'm going to see if I can keep doing it every month. I'm going to kind of quickly rank these. Again, not giving any thoughts on these, but you just gotta see how it goes. Again, just because it's on the bottom, I'm not saying if it's good or bad yet. So this is just meant for my friends. So in fourth place, I'm gonna go with Relient K. Then after that, I'm gonna go with Harper's Bazaar. And then after that, I'll go with the Verve, and at the number 1, so technically this is my favorite of the 4, I'm going to go with Razorlight. Again, not going to say much else, let's just keep moving. Okay, and now in this segment, we are talking about all the CDs that Mickey has sent. And Mickey has sent quite a lot this year, hence why the number's kind of gotten big. But anyway, first CD we're going to talk about is Deep Purple, Abandon. This is a later album from 1998. So awesome to have more Deep Purple in the collection, and getting somewhat of a more late period album. Of course, I've mentioned this in the viewer mail episode. This is the last album to feature John Lord on organ and keyboards before he would retire from the band. And I think it's a pretty solid album for him to go out with. Still some really good songs on here. And some of my favorite songs, you have the songs Any Fool Know That. Kind of a misspelling of it, but that's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek. Almost Human, Don't Make Me Happy, Seventh Heaven, Fingers to the Bone, Jack Ruby, She Was, What's Her Name, 69. Hopefully they're talking about the year. But some solid stuff. I'm not going to say it's like a top tier Deep Purple album, because there are a couple songs that are kind of just okay. And probably one of the most like weird inclusions is that they actually cover themselves. The last track is them covering their song Bloodsucker from Deep Purple in Rock, which, you know, it's I guess a more modern take on it. Modern for them, and you know, it's kind of like whatever, because you know, we already have the original. The original is amazing, but this version is kind of just whatever. But still, it's a pretty solid Deep Purple album. Still some good playing on here, and Ian Gillan still sounding good. Based on what I've heard from fans, this is kind of the last attempt from Ian to screaming like he usually does, but still pretty interesting, pretty cool, very good album. Weird cover though. And then, gonna be brief on this one, we have Blue Oyster Cult Classic, and this is basically a re-recording album where they pretty much kind of redo a lot of their songs. Not much to say on this really. I mean, I think on Wikipedia they count this as a studio album, which is kind of like, why? But it's interesting, but really I got no like drive to listen to it. But I'll still put in the collection because, you know, it's Blue Oyster Cult, and it's technically counted as an album, so why the heck not? And then we have a Dick Dale Greatest Hits compilation. So Dick Dale, pretty famous surf rock guitarist. Now of course he's known for, you know, the soundtrack of, you know, surfing. You know, you have Mercy Lou or Miserlou, hopefully I said that right, which is a pretty famous song from him. I mean, he's used in Pulp Fiction and all that stuff. And it was interesting to check out more stuff beyond that. And, you know, he's a really great guitar player. I gotta give him that. Overall, it's pretty solid music if you're into that surf sound. And you can definitely hear the influence on other genres, specifically black metal, just shockingly, especially with how he does the tremolo picking. So it's pretty interesting. I'm not going to say I love Dick Dale's music, because a lot of it's instrumental music for the most part. I mean, there's a couple tracks with some vocals on there, but it's not really the main focus. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool to own, so nice to own some Dick Dale. And then we have Edgar Winter Group with They Only Come Out at Night. A very, very cool album. It's good to have some good Edgar Winter music in my collection, produced by Rick Derringer, and some great songs on here like Hanging Around, When It Comes, Alta Mara, something like that, Free Ride, Autumn. We all had a real good time, and of course the most notable thing about the album is the closing track, Frankenstein, which is a really cool instrumental track, one of the few instrumental tracks I actually do enjoy. And pretty solid album. Again, some nice playing, getting some good stuff, and don't have too much to say, but it's definitely an interesting album to check out, and a very interesting album cover to say the least. And then we have a band I have no knowledge of before this, and the band's called The Fix, and this is their album Calm Animals, plural. Make sure I get the plural right. But yeah, I had no idea who this band was. They're kind of like an 80s band. They're kind of like this new wavy sort of pop rock sort of thing. I forgot what genre they're technically classified in, but yeah, I had no expectations, and you know, not bad. It's actually pretty decent. There were some songs I really liked. So the first song, I'm Life, is pretty good opening song. Driven Out, and then one of my favorite songs on here is probably Precious Stone. I really enjoyed the mood on that one. Title track's pretty good. Shred of Evidence. I also really like the flow. I think the flow and Precious Stone are definitely my two favorite songs on here. And then track 9 is World Weary. World Weary. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Not that I'm like driven to listen to in full too often, but there were some good songs on here. So yeah, I like that one. I like that one quite a bit. And of course, Mickey has to send some live albums, which is not new, and there's going to be more coming up pretty soon. We have Grand Funk Railroad, we have Caught in the Act, and then we have Grand Funk Railroad live, the 1971 tour. So they're live albums, so again, I'm going to be rather brief on these, but of course this is a pretty well-known live album from them from 1975. You know, you have songs like their cover of The Locomotions, We're an American Band is on here, Heartbreaker, and then a lot of other big songs that we know from them. And notable about this one is that Mickey actually suggested this on my Patreon page, and as of this video, it is currently up on my Patreon page. So if you want to go ahead, check out my reaction to the full live album, please go ahead, check out the Patreon page. Links in the description. Make sure you pledge. So again, not going to be rather brief on those, but there, more Grand Funk Railroad for the collection. And then we have Living Colour with their album Vivid. Now, Living Colour are a pretty notable hard rock heavy metal band from this late 80s period, and pretty decent album. I don't love this one. I mean, I like it, but aside from a few songs, you know, Cult of Personality, it's a pretty famous song from them. I Know You, I liked. Middleman, Desperate People, Open Letter to a Landlord, Glamour Boys was kind of nice, was kind of fine. What's Your Favorite Color, Which Way to America. You know, I like those songs, but I'm not gonna say it's not really. I don't really love them. Is what I'm trying to say. They're fine, but again, aside from those songs that I liked, the rest of the album's kind of like, it's kind of generic sounding. Don't really have much to say on them. But you know, it's pretty decent. So not really going to be a highlight here, but it was fine for what it is. And now we have a pretty notable one. We have Curtis Mayfield, and this is his soundtrack to the film Superfly. Of course, Superfly was kind of one of those blaxploitation films from the 70s, and Curtis was asked to do the soundtrack. And even though I have never seen the movie, you know, I think the album kind of stands well on its own. A lot of great, kind of jazzy, kind of funky. It all comes together really good. Some highlights: Little Child Running Wild, Freddy's Dead, Give Me Your Love song, Eddie, You Should Know Better, No Thing on Me, and then the title track. So pretty cool album. Again, if you like that funky, jazzy sort of thing, then you can definitely get into this one. And again, like I said, I don't think you really need to watch the movie to enjoy the album. I mean, there's moments where they kind of reference stuff, and there's some instrumental tracks, but still, I think it holds up pretty good. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And then, I'm going to be brief on this one too. We have a Pete Townsen CD, but this is called Scoop. And basically, it's pretty much a compilation of Pete Townsen songs, but kind of their rough demo versions. So you have a lot of songs that we know, a lot of Who songs like Squeeze Box, Behind Blue Eyes, The Magic Bus, Love Rain on Me, and some songs from his, I'm assuming from his solo career. So it's kind of like a little, it's kind of interesting because you're kind of hearing some early demos, but is this essential? Probably not, unless you're that much of a Pete Townsen fan. It's fine for what it is. Not much else to say. I'm still gonna put this in the collection, but it's kind of not really worth checking out, again, unless you're a diehard Pete Townsen fan. So let's keep moving. And now we have 2 CDs from Mick Jagger. We have a full-length studio album with Wandering Spirits, and then after that we have a CD single with the song Visions of Paradise. So let's talk about the single first. So Visions of Paradise, this was kind of in the 2000s. I forgot what album it was originally from, but it's interesting to have like a Mick Jagger single. And regarding the song, it's okay. It's kind of fine. Don't have much else to say to it, really. It's kind of forgettable. I already forgot how it went. And now let's quickly talk about the album that I got. So this is the first Mick Jagger solo album I have in the collection now, which is kind of interesting. So this was from 1993, and it's I didn't really have much to say on it, really. There's some decent songs like Wired All Night, Out of Focus, Don't Tear Me Up, Evening Gown, Mother of a Man, and Think. And then the rest is kind of just not really that special. It's Mick Jagger's doing his Mick Jagger thing. It's kind of more bluesy, kind of more of that hard rocker sound that we know from the Stones. But yeah, it's kind of whatever. I'm pretty sure I know he had some big albums in the 80s, but this 90s one's probably not it for me. But it's whatever. I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going. And then we're going to move on to a Keith Richards solo album. I talked about Mick Jagger, now I'm talking about Keith Richards. How about that? So we have Talk Is Cheap from 1988. So compared to the Mick Jagger CD, I do think this is better, but not a whole lot. Again, I kind of just thought this was fine. This is one of those situations where if they're separate, it's fine. But it really, when they're together, that's kind of when the magic happens. When they're separate, it's just whatever. But again, like I said, I do prefer this over the Mick Jagger CD. It's funny because I did research, and I think I read a review on this album at the time saying it's the best Rolling Stones albums in a long time, which is kind of funny. But anyway, songs I liked: Take It So Hard, Struggle, You Don't Move Me, How I Wish, and Locked Away. Those are the highlights. The rest, just fine. It's okay. Don't have anything else to say, really. It's just there. But I know people like this album, so that's cool. But do I have a drive to listen to this one? Not very much. And a lot of this stuff, I'm just going to blaze through these because, again, I have not much to say on these. We have a Ronnie Wood live album with Slide On Live, Plugged In and Standing. So yeah, a live Ronnie Wood CD, which is kind of interesting. That said, it's cool, again, but it's not really the best recording, really. It's kind of not really that polished. It was recorded in 1992, 93 from a couple shows. And, playing's decent, playing's pretty good, but not much else to add to that. And then we have 2 Rolling Stones live albums. We have Flashpoints. This was from 91. And then the other one I got from Mickey is called No Security. So we have some Rolling Stones live albums. And, they're pretty solid. Again, kind of like the Ronnie Wood situation. It's interesting to listen to, but again, there's kind of... This is late period Rolling Stones, and it's cool, but nothing really that amazing. This is again one of those situations where it's cool to hear them live, but I think I just want to stick with the studio stuff. But interesting, but again, not much else to add to those two. And then we have a Rolling Stones compilation. We have the London Years, a 3 CD pack. And now this is interesting because this one does contain a lot of songs that were just released as singles but didn't really make it onto albums. You know, songs like Honky Tonk Woman's on here, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and some other various songs throughout. You have songs from the early period, but also songs from the late 60s going into the early 70s, which is pretty nice. So this is actually a pretty decent compilation here. So if you want to get those songs that you wanted, but they're not on the studio album, this is definitely you might want to look into this, because it does have a lot of songs. Like I said, it's 3 CDs, so you get a lot here. You know, a lot of these songs you know, but pretty cool, pretty nice. So that's pretty nice pickup there. And the last CD I'm going to showcase is going to be the one CD that will not be in the collection. And so Mickey, I apologize, but I got no use for this thing. We have symphonic music of the Rolling Stones. So basically what pretty much this is basically a symphony covering the Rolling Stones. And that's pretty much it. It's just a symphony, big orchestra, and they're just basically doing a lot of Rolling Stones songs, which, you know, it's interesting to say the least. But why would I ever want to listen to this by itself? It's kind of whatever. I mean, it features a couple people. I mean, you have Marianne Faithfull, and I guess Mick Jagger makes an appearance pretty much. But it's kind of just here. Again, this is probably the first time where normally I would keep stuff like this, but it's just nothing here that I would ever want to check out again. So I'm not going to trash this or sell this. I'll probably just have it in the background. But in terms of in the actual collection, yeah, this is not going to be part of it, unfortunately. So it is what it is. So other than that one, again, some excellent stuff in here, Mickey. Thank you so much again for sending me these. And yeah, aside from this one, some cool stuff. So thank you very much again. Okay, so now we have this big section to get through. These are all the CDs that I picked up with my own money. And the first two are from the same project, basically. We have the Alan Parsons project. We have Pyramid. And we also picked up the album Eve. So it's cool to get some more Alan Parsons projects here. And these are pretty notable albums, I would say, based on what I've heard from fans. So of course we're talking about Pyramid first. And pretty good album. I think of the two, I think this is my favorite. But you know, the other one I have some good things to say too. You know, a lot of these Alan Parsons projects have a concept to them. Of course, Pyramid, of course, has a kind of somewhat of a Egyptian sort of pyramid theme. So some highlights: what goes up, the eagle will rise again, one more river, can't take it with you, Pyromania, I think that's how you say it, Shadow of a Lonely Man. Some really good stuff here. Again, it goes without saying, for both of these, productions going to be great. You have a couple of those instrumental tracks which I'm kind of hit or miss with, but aside from that, it's a very strong album. Some really good stuff in here. And same thing can be said about Eve. Of course, the concept of this one is about women and how their importance in society is kind of like the basic concept. And again, same story with Pyramid. Very strong, very good, but like I said, I think I prefer Pyramid just slightly more. But some highlights here. We have You Lie Down with Dogs, kind of a pretty weird title, but anyway. I'd Rather Be a Man, You Won't Be There, Damned If I Do, Don't Hold Me Back, If I Could Change Your Mind. Some excellent tracks again here, and again, you still have those instrumental tracks like I mentioned, but yeah, excellent ones. Great to have more from them, and kind of expanding their discography for me. But yeah, pretty good stuff. And then we get a pretty big album from 2025. We have Alice Cooper with the return of Alice Cooper, of course referring to the original Alice Cooper band. You have pretty much most of the original members aside from one. You have Glenn Buxton, who died in the 90s, I believe, but they found some old recordings from him, and they kind of incorporated into the album for one of the songs. So yeah, I mean, I like a lot of Alice Cooper, and pretty much most of what I have from Alice Cooper is from the original band. So it's cool to check out let's see how they sound in 2025. Gotta say, I love the album cover, kind of a good homage, like classic Universal horror movie posters. Very, very fun stuff. So it's a pretty long album. There's 14 songs technically, but there's 2 hidden bonus songs, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, to quickly go through the tracks here. So starts off with a couple of the singles. We have Black Mamba, which is a very cool, fun opening song. All the Wild Ones, a good fast-paced rock song, really good. Some good vocals from Alice. Up All Night, another excellent track. Kill the Flies, I thought was okay. One Night Stand, great. Then you have Blood of the Sun, which is definitely one of my favorites on the album. And then you have one of those like jokey Alice songs with crap that gets in the way of your dreams, which is, I can only do so much of that weird, quirky, silly sort of thing. But it picks up with Famous Face. Money Screams was pretty good. What a Sid, which is, I thought was fine, not really one of my favorites. Intergalactic Vagabond Blues, which is pretty nice. What Happened to You, I believe that's the song with Glenn Buxton on guitar, which I thought was a pretty good track. I like that one. I Ain't Done Wrong, it's fine. Again, another one of the okay tracks. But then it closes out on track 14 with See You on the Other Side, which I think is a really nice way to close the album. And then you have the 2 hidden tracks, and basically, based on what I've looked up, the last 2 hidden tracks are basically like kind of like outtakes from the first 2 Alice Cooper albums. So those 2 really depend if you're into the first 2 Alice Cooper albums, which I know not many people. I know there's kind of a mixed opinion on those 2 albums, but it's kind of a nice little throw-in, to kind of a little nod to that period, kind of acknowledging that period. But do I have a use for them? Not really. But overall, after close to 50 years of not being together, I think the band has proven that they still have it in them. They can still pull it off. And of course, you have Bob Ezrin producing, which of course he produced some of the classic albums back then, and he was able to capture the sound that they were known for back then. So pretty good album, pretty nice stuff. After that, we have a Canadian band. We have April Wine, and this is their album Stand Back. So I believe this was from 1975. So I've heard of April Wine. They're a band that kind of gets brought up every once in a while. But yeah, I saw this at the record store. Let's give it a chance. So I don't know if this is a great one to start with, but overall, I dug it. That was a pretty good rock album. Highlights. The first song, I have no idea how to pronounce it. I'm going to try Ooh, What a Night. I think that's it. Ooh, What a Night. Maybe. Probably. But anyway, another good song. We have Don't Push Me Around. Come Hear the Band, which is spelled in a very sus way. Victim of Your Love. Baby Done Got Some Soul. I wouldn't want to lose your love. Not for you, not for rock and roll. And then other highlight was Tonight is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love. Yeah, pretty solid rock album. Again, I'm not sure if this is like the best album to start with, but it's cool to actually start. So if you know more April Wine that you think is better than this, then again, feel free to leave in the comments. So again, very brief, but pretty good album. I dug that one. And now we have, honestly, I probably was a bad idea getting this one because it's a pretty rare album. It's Baltimora, and this is their album Living in the Background. So the reason why I say it's probably not a good idea of me buying this because it's a pretty rare CD, and it wasn't cheap. but I was able to get it for a decent enough price because this goes for hundreds of dollars. But luckily I was able to get it below 100, so I'll take it. And it's one of those like one-hit wonder acts that you're like, you really shouldn't go out your way to own it, but I just had to get it just because of just how, I'll just come out saying I like Tarzan Boy. I think Tarzan Boy is a fun 80s song. It's goofy, but I think it's a fun kind of pop Italian disco song. But again, it's ridiculous, but it's catchy as heck, so I can't fault it for that. That said, is it more than the song that it's known for? Funny enough, I think so. I think there's a couple of songs I really do like, which there's not many. There's 6 songs. And you might think it's because some of the songs are long. Like, no, this is only like just short of 35 minutes, so it's not that long of an album. But besides Tarzan Boy, some other songs I really like. Pull the Wire. That's a really actually great song. Great saxophone playing on that track. That's one of the big highlights of that one, and some good melodic bass playing too. The other single on here was the title track, and I think that's another really good kind of upbeat sort of dance pop song. Really enjoy that. Again, very catchy. And then from that point on, the other song I liked was Chinese Restaurant, surprisingly. But the other 2 songs, Woody Boogie, I think that was kind of annoying. And then Running for Your Love is kind of generic sounding, didn't really stand out. But it's interesting. Yeah. So besides Tarzan Boy, there's actually some other songs I actually did enjoy on here. So I guess it's kind of worth it. Yes? No? I don't know. But any case, so Baltimore, Living in the Background. There you go. And here is a very cool find. We have an album called, and this is going to be a long one, 40 Blue Fingers Freshly Packed and Ready to Serve. And the band is called Chicken Shack. And I had to pick this one up because the most notable thing about this band is that this is where Christine McVie actually got her start. Of course, by this point, she was known as Christine Perfect. And, you know, I'm not going to come out and say I love this album, because it's kind of like, it's one of those things where if you like Fleetwood Mac's debut, then you'll probably enjoy this, because it's very similar sounding. There's kind of the same blues rock sort of thing. And of course they were released in the same year, actually, and produced by the same guy. So there you go. Kind of worked out, right? I guess it was destiny. But like I said, if you like blues rock, like late 60s blues, then you might enjoy this one. And really, the songs, my favorite songs are the one Christine sang, so duh. But I will highlight the songs I liked. Not too many though, but The Letter, Lonesome Whistle Blues, When the Train Comes Back, CC Baby, and You Ain't No Good. And yeah, again, it's blues rock. If you like it, you'll love this thing. But for me, I'm kind of hit or miss with it, but it has Christine McVie on it, so it's worth something. And then here, I'm going to be again brief. We have a Dr. Demento compilation, and I got this because Mickey sent me disc 1. So this is a 2 CD pack, really. And like I said, Mickey sent me disc 1 a little bit ago, like quite a few months ago. But lo and behold, just at a whim at a record store, I was able to find disc 2. So now I have the full collection. So cool. It does include songs that I do know. You have The Time Warp, which of course was from Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I think is a fun song. And looking through it, really the only other song that's worth mentioning, you have Frank Zappa, which of course he would. But the other song that's worth noting is that it has the song. It has the song where you have to know about the word. And we all know the bird is. But yeah, there you go. Dr. Demento. Kind of a joke one, really, but hey, that's kind of the point. And then next up, we have 2 albums from the same artist. And this is from Dennis the Young, formerly of Styx. We have 26 East Volume 1. And then we also have 26 East Volume 2. So what I've heard, these will be his final 2 albums, because I don't think he's retiring, but in terms of making albums, I think he's kind of done with it. But still, from what I've heard from a lot of Dennis DeYoung fans and even Styx fans, like, these are pretty solid albums from him, probably some of his best in a long time. And I do have to agree, I do think these are very strong albums here. So we'll talk about Volume 1 real quick, and it's got trains on them, which is nice. So some songs I liked: East of Midnight, You My Love, Run for the Roses, Damn That Dream, Unbroken, and To the Good Old Days, which, fun fact, that song actually features Julian Lennon, John Lennon's son, on vocals. Kind of a nice duet, little ballad type of thing. So I think it's a pretty good album. There were a couple songs I was not into. Probably one of my least favorite songs was With All Due Respect, which what kills the song is this weird chanting thing Dennis does in the beginning a lot, which I get what he's trying to go for, but it gets annoying. So yeah, I wasn't really into that one. But let's talk about Volume 2, and I will say Volume 2 is probably my favorite out of these. I think it's just a little bit stronger, and there's a lot of good songs on here. And this is where the Styx parallels really come into play. I mean, these two definitely have Styx parallels, because his backing band, you have a guy who sounds eerily similar to Tommy Shaw, like very close. But in any case, we have Hello Goodbye, starting off the album, Land of the Living, Your Saving Grace, Proof of Heaven, Made for Each Other, There's No Turning Back Time, Little Did We Know, Always Time, and then you have the song The Isle of Misanthrope. I don't know if I said that right, but that's where the Styx really comes into play. It's like, if you like proggy Styx, like, that's the song you want to check out. And then it closes off with basically a cover with the grand finale from The Grand Illusion, which I guess kind of fitting, knowing that this will probably be his last solo album. But that said, I'm very glad I got these, and it's good to kind of make up, because last month I picked up 2 latter Styx albums, so getting some latter Dennis DeYoung albums, so it comes full circle, I guess. But good stuff here. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about some more progressive rock. And this band gets brought up every once in a while, and this is a more modern prog album. The band's called the Flower Kings, and this is their album, Islands. So this came out in 2020, and the fact it's called Islands, you can kind of make your own interpretation of what that actually means, given the context. But yeah, this was kind of recorded in isolation. And it's a pretty interesting album. First thing I'm going to point out, of course, artwork done by Roger Dean. Excellent, as always. So I again, like I said, I've heard of the Flower Kings. I hear their name every once in a while. And so I saw this at the record store, and I decided to just go for it. Again, I don't know if this is the best album to start with, because it's a pretty long album. It's basically a double album. Actually, it is a double album. It's an hour and 32 minutes. So there's a lot. Now, funny enough, there's not really a long song. Like, the songs are actually fairly short for the most part. There's one song that's like 9 minutes, but besides that, everything else is like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, roughly 5 minutes at most. But overall, pretty solid album. This is probably one of those albums, because, you know, it's a long album, so I'm not really gonna get it all in one listen, but maybe in due time, the more I give it more listens, it'll start to grow on me more. But I did enjoy this one. I'm not gonna say all my songs that I liked, because again, there's quite a bit, but there's a good chunk of the album I really dug. I think I prefer disc 1, honestly. Again, as of right now, again, in due time, maybe I'll enjoy the entire album, but yeah, pretty cool. Again, if you know more Flower Kings, let me know an album I should check out, some more recommendations, and then maybe we'll explore them more down the line. And now we have an album called Candles in the Rain, and this is from a solo artist called Melanie. Now, Melanie was a pretty well-known, like, kind of poppy, sort of folky, I guess folky singer, maybe? Pop folk, some folk pop, something like that. And I know she passed away not that long ago. And I saw this and like, let's give it a go. And it was pretty nice. It was a very nice album. Pretty good kind of feel to it. I really liked her vocals pretty much. But yeah, it was pretty nice. So some songs to highlight that I really dig was Lay Down, parentheses, Candle is in the Rain. Then you have Carolina in My Mind, City's People, Alexander Beetle, The Good Guys, Lovin' Baby Girl, and then the last song is Leftover One, which is pretty good. But there's also some bonus songs on here, and out of the bonus songs, my favorite one was Almost Like Being in Love. So for a first Melanie album, this is a pretty nice one to start with. Again, this could be an album that could grow on me more the more times I give it a chance. But I dug it. I thought it was pretty nice. A very pleasant album, very good vibe, pretty much, and definitely a nice listen. So I'm definitely interested to check out more Melanie. Now I was pretty stoked to find this one because I don't know how rare this band is here in America, especially this album. We have Midnight Oil. We have their self-titled debut from 1978. So yeah, I was honestly shocked to find this in a record store because, you know, when you look at Midnight Oil, you're probably going to find Diesel and Dust you might find, and maybe you might find a couple of the 90s albums, but you're not really going to find their early albums too often. And I was pretty fortunate to find their debut. And it's a pretty solid debut. They're kind of in their more punky sort of phase still. Kind of punky, kind of rocking. But still some pretty fun tracks on here. You get essence of what they would later do moving forward. So it's a pretty good album. Favorite songs on here, again, is a short album. It's like 35 minutes again, 7 songs. But songs I enjoyed were Powder Works, Head Over Heels, Surfing with a Spoon, don't know what that means, Run by Night, Nothing Lost, Nothing Gained. So very strong start to the career, and it's good to get more Midnight Oil. So yeah, excellent find. And now we have Montrose, and this album is called Jump On It. And man, what a terrible cover that is. Like, what the heck? Like I kind of know what it is, but it's like, why? But any case, so Montrose. So this is the second Montrose album I have in my collection, and this was from 1976, I believe. And by this point, Sammy Hagar's gone. He's not in the band anymore. He's going solo. And so you have a different guy on vocals. And, you still have Ronnie Montrose on guitar. Yeah, it was okay. It was, I know many people say Montrose, the debut album is excellent, but then everything afterward, you're kind of like, it's kind of hit or miss. And yeah, this album was kind of hit or miss. It's not bad or anything. You still have good guitar stuff here and there, but you just feel like something's missing. Like, it's not just the vocals, like some kind of spark's missing. I don't know. But songs like Let's Go, What Are You Waiting For? Title track's actually not too bad. Rich Man, Merry-Go-Round's okay. It's fine, but it's not really essential listening. But again, listen to the debut. Now that's good stuff there. Okay, so I was shocked that I was able to get these many albums from this band. And it's a very famous band. Well, fairly famous. I know they were more famous in the UK, but they've garnered a pretty big cult following. I was able to pick up Mott The Hoopal CDs. Now, for a long time, I've only had 2. I had, All the Young Dudes, and I've had Mott. But to my surprise, in the same record store, I was able to pick up every Mott The Hoopal album I was missing. So I pretty much have the entire discography, which I'm pretty stoked about. So going to quickly showcase each one. We have their self-titled debut album. This was from 1969 originally. And then I picked up Mad Shadows, which I believe is from 1970, if I'm not mistaken. I might get some dates wrong, so bear with me. And then we have Wildlife. I think this was from 1971, I think. Yep, I'm pretty sure, 1971. Then we have Brain Capers from the same year, if I'm not mistaken. And then that's where I picked it up. Again, I have All the Young Dudes, and then I have Mott, and then I was able to pick up the final album from 1974 called The Hoopal. So there we go. I was able to pick up all these albums in the same record store. So I have the entire discography, or do I? That's not all I picked up, because if you don't know, after the Hoopal, you know, Ian Hunter would leave the band and he would kind of go pretty much go solo, and I think another member left, and so the remaining members decided to keep it going, and they released 2 more albums, but they weren't called Mott The Hoopal. They just called themselves Mott, and I was able to pick those up as well. Not the record store, I had to buy them off eBay, but still, the 2 albums they released were Drive On from 1975, I believe. Yep, 1975. And then the last album this lineup would put out is called Shouting and Pointing from 1976. So there we go. So I don't know how many people consider the Mott albums in the discography, but I guess they technically are, because funny enough, these 2 CDs, if you look on their packaging, they clearly say Mott The Hoopal, and even on the side they're credited as Mott The Hoopal, so I guess in retrospective they kind of count them. But regardless, so we have these 2, and then we have all the Mott The Hoopal albums that I did not own previously. So excellent find for me. So now let's actually talk about them. So we'll start with the debut. It's an okay debut. It's not that amazing. It's them early on, and this is where you hear Ian Hunter doing the most Bob Dylan that he's doing. Like, I know Ian Hunter and Bob Dylan kind of have a very similar vocal style, and you know, later on Ian would kind of make himself a bit more distinct, but here on this album, yeah, you can definitely hear the Dylan influence. It starts out interestingly. You have a cover of The Kinks, You Really Got Me, but it's instrumental. Interesting choice, but still. And then from that point onward, it's kind of like, again, it's kind of hit or miss. There are some songs that were fine, but the 3 songs that I actually thought were pretty good were At the Crossroads, Rock and Roll Queen's probably the best song on here, and then Half Moon Bay, which is interesting enough, that's the longest song. That's 10 minutes. So I never thought you'd get a 10-minute song on a Mott The Hoopal album, but there you go. But yeah, it's an okay debut, but I'm not gonna say it's essential listening. But the next album I'm going to show is their second album. We have Mad Shadows, and this is a much better improvement. And I like it right now, but I feel like the more I give it listens, I'll enjoy it a lot more. But some songs to highlight: Thunderbuck Ram, a very good hard rocking song to open the album. No Wheels to Ride, I Can Feel, and then The Threads of Iron. Some really excellent stuff here. But again, I need to give this more listens. And this could potentially be one of my least favorites, but I still think it's fine. Wildlife, but this is when they were kind of incorporating some country influence, which is kind of not a bad decision, but it's kind of like I'm not really into. I don't want to hear Mott The Hoopal do country, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But if you like country, then you might dig it. But still some good songs. Whiskey Woman, again, that's still a good hard rock number. So they still have some hard rock in them. But, you know, the rest of the album doesn't really do it too much. But other songs I liked was Angel of 8th Avenue, Wrong Side of the River, Lay Down, and then Home Is Where I Want to Be. So again, decent stuff. Just not really my favorite. And then here we have another good album. We have Brain Capers. So good songs were Death May Be Your Santa Claus, My Own Backyard, Darkness, yeah. The Journey, which is another long song. It's 9 minutes, but it's a pretty good track. Sweet Angeline, yeah. And The Moon Upstairs. Yeah, much better album. And then they would do All the Young Dudes. Then you got Mott. And then you have probably my favorite out of this haul. We have, well, this Mott The Hoopal haul. We have The Hoopal. And I enjoyed every song on here. It was you know, by this point they were pretty well established in the glam rock scene, and yeah, it's on full display here, and it's great. I really enjoy this album. A lot of great hooks, a lot of great guitar playing on here, and yeah, even though there's no Mick Ralphs because he was out of the band by this point, they don't miss a beat. So by far my favorite out of these Mott The Hoopal albums that I've shown, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. But not to throw shade at any of the Mott albums. I think the Mott albums are pretty solid stuff, just not on the same level. My least favorite of the two is probably the first with Drive On. It's still a fine album, but obviously when you hear the lead vocal, the new lead singer, we have Nigel Benjamin on lead vocals, and he's fine, but you kind of miss Ian quite a bit of the times. But like I said, some fine songs. Monte Carlo, She Does It, I'll Tell You Something, Love Now, The Great White Wall, or sorry, Great White Whale, Here We Are, and I can show you how it is. So there's Drive On, and then the final album with Shouting and Pointing. Songs to highlight are Shouting and Pointing, the title track, Collision Course, Storm, Hold On, You're Crazy, See You Again, Two Short Arms, I Don't Care, and Good Times. So again, this is definitely, I feel it's a bit stronger. I think the songwriting is a bit more tighter, and I think there's a lot more catchy songs on here. But it's a decent album. Still, I think it's worth checking out if you're curious. But there we go. So that's the Mott The Hoopal haul, basically. It's pretty much the big highlight of the entire haul, really, for me. But still, excellent stuff. Really enjoy Mott The Hoopal quite a bit. And up next, we have Stevie Nicks. We have another Stevie Nicks solo album. And this is from 1983, and this is called The Wild Heart. Now, when I bought this, I only got it for one song originally, and that was the song Stand Back, which is funny. We talked about an April Wine album called Stand Back, but here we're talking about a song called Stand Back. And anyway, love that song. It's one of my favorite Stevie Nicks songs. It's just a fun, catchy, upbeat sort of number. Has a somewhat dance feel to it, but great hook, great chorus to it too. So I didn't know any other song on here, but pleasantly surprised. I thought this was another strong album. Maybe not quite on the same level as Belladonna, but still, definitely another album to check out from Stevie's solo career. And I really dug every song on here. There was a lot of songs I really liked. So, Wild Heart, good opening song. I'm going to be jumping around, but Stand Back's a great song. And then another song that's probably worth noting is Sable on Blonde, which, if you like Dreams, it has a very similar vibe to Dreams. And what makes it even more that vein is that you have Mick Fleetwood on drums on that song, which is you can kind of tell. But yeah, I'm just going to be kind of brief on it, but it's a really good album. Good old-fashioned Stevie Nicks at his finest. Of course, still very good, putting out good material at this point. So, really nice find. And now I'm going to talk about some country. Yeah, I picked up some country, specifically from Rascal Flats. I picked up Feels Like Today. This is from, I'm trying to remember, 2004? Yeah, 2004. And then I also decided to pick up another album from 2006 called Me and My Gang. So the reason why I picked them up, because Jacob Martin requested this album from my Patreon, and I bought it, and so that should tell you what I thought of it. But if you want to hear my full reaction, again, check out the Patreon and pledge to be a member. But any case, so that inspired me to pick up Me and My Gang. So I will say this is a pretty good album. It's hard to tell which one I prefer, but maybe this one goes up just a little bit. But there's still some good songs on this album too. I really dig their kind of vibe. It's kind of on the country pop side, which I tend to gravitate towards more. I really like the lead singer's voice, and some good harmonies on occasion, and some catchy songs. And good ballads too. So songs that stood out to me were Stand, What Hurts the Most, which was a song request from Jacob, and that was another reason why I got this. I Feel Bad, My Wish, Pieces, To Make Her Love Me, Words I Couldn't Say, Ellsworth, he ain't the leaving kind. And I also got this specific copy because this copy has a bonus song, and that is their cover of Life is a Highway, which of course is from Cars, so I had to get it because of that too. But this is a pretty solid album. So yeah, I'm digging Rascal Flats. So who knows, maybe we'll check out more in the future. But yeah, nice finds there. Thank you to Jacob for turning me on to Rascal Flats. And now we have two from the same band, and I was very stoked to get two more from this band. It's from another prog band, and the band is Renaissance. I picked up Novella from 1977, and I believe this is the next album. We have a song from All Seasons from 78, 79, something like that. But yeah, some more Renaissance. So again, if you don't know Renaissance, they're a progressive rock band, and what's notable about them, they're one of the few prog bands that are sung by a female, because most prog bands are mostly male dominant. So it's cool to have a female singer for once. So we'll talk about Novella first because it's my favorite of the two, and it's another great album from them. Really enjoyed their vibe, very symphonic sounding. There's only 5 songs, so that it's prog, that tells you. But every song on here is good. Can You Hear Me, The Sisters, Midas Man, The Captive Heart, Touching Once, parentheses, is so hard to keep. Yeah, I really enjoy this one. Again, some great bass playing too, because the vocals go without saying, but John Camp, who is on bass, like, I think he's a very underrated bass player. Some good stuff on here, great guitar melodies, great vocal melodies. It's a good album, and this album is pretty good too, but just maybe not as strong as the previous one, but still some good songs. Opening out, The Day of the Dreamer, and Back Home Once Again, and the Northern Lights I heard was actually a kind of a minor hit for them. It had some radio play, but it wasn't like a huge hit, but that was kind of like their closest big hit. But then it closes out with the epic A Song from All Seasons, the title track. So very strong album, but maybe not as strong as Novella, but still very happy to get more Renaissance. Who knows, maybe we'll get the whole discography, because I don't think it's that long. But yeah, I really dig their sound. Definitely a band I'm always talking praise on. And now we have a debut album from a band that wasn't quite popular originally, but they would kind of go on to be somewhat influential in the long run. We have the Runaways. And of course, the Runaways are notable because it would kind of jumpstart the careers of 2 very famous members. Of course, you have Lita Ford, who would go and have a pretty big solo career, but probably the one who had the biggest solo career was Joan Jett. So yeah, Joan Jett and Lita Ford in the same band, and it's a very fun album. Again, it's kind of hard rocking, it's kind of punky, but there's a lot of energy, a lot of fire in this album. Very raw sounding too, but it's really good. And you have, who's the lead singer again? Cherry Curry, something like that. And so she's basically the lead singer, but Joan Jett also does some lead vocals as well. And yeah, it's really good, really fun stuff. Very good album. I liked every song basically. Of course, Cherry Bomb was kind of the big single. It wasn't like a huge hit or anything, but it's kind of become like an anthem in its own right. But yeah, it's 10 tracks, not a long album. It's like 32 minutes, so it's one of the shorter albums here. But if you like that sort of hard rock and punkish sort of sound with a lot of vigor, then yeah, check out the Runaways. Some good stuff here. And I know they have another album, a couple albums. I don't know how many they did, but maybe we'll check out some more of the Runaways at some point if I can find it, because not sure how often you find these. Now let's head back to 1966 with another debut album. We got the Small Faces. Of course, we have Steve Marriott and company. And yeah, I know my good friend Nick is a big Small Faces fan, especially their album Ogden's Nut Gun Flake. And so, saw this, might as well take a look at it. And it's a pretty decent album. I liked it. Again, it's not like my type of music that I'm going to gravitate towards a lot, but there's some nice songs on here, and you do get a sense of Steve Marriott's vocal prowess, because yeah, his vocals are still very top notch for pretty much. But highlight songs are Shake, Come On Children, I'd Better Believe It, You Better Believe It, sorry, One Night Stand, What You Gonna Do About It, You Need Lovin', Don't Stop What You're Doing, and Sha-La-La-La-Lee. Dumb title, but I actually didn't mind that song here too much. But yeah, Small Faces, really solid album. Nothing amazing, but decent sort of 60s pop rock, I guess. And now we got a band called Spandau Ballet. Again, I don't know if I said that right, but it's another one of those cases I pretty much got it because it has their song True, which that's a great song. I love that song. I mean, we kind of know it. You know the opening thing. Aside from that song, is it more than just that? I know they were pretty big in the 80s, but the rest of the album kind of doesn't really hold up as much as True does. But I did like songs like Communication, I like Gold, and Foundation was decent, was a solid track. But the rest of the album is kind of just, it's fine, just nothing really that special. It's overall, it's an okay album, but really True, that's like, that's, the rest of the album is here, but then True is way up here, so if that makes any sense. But, you know, it is what it is. And here is yet another debut album. We got Billy Squier. We got The Tale of the Tape. All right, Billy Squier. So I've had one Billy Squier album for a long time. I think it's called Don't Say No or Don't Say So, something like that. But I found this. I like that album. So we'll see if this debut is pretty good. And yeah, it's a good one. Good hard rock album. Has some heavy moments, but still some catchy stuff too. And every song on here is pretty good. I enjoyed every song on here. Only 9 songs, so it's not terribly long. But it's just a fun hard rock album. Definitely some good catchy choruses. And yeah, some good vocals too for the most part. Yeah, excellent album. So definitely worth checking out. Sorry I didn't have much to say, but it's good. Trust me. And now we have good old Ringo. We have 1974's Good Night Vienna.
Good night, Vienna. Good night, Vienna.
So Ringo Starr. I saw this. I'm like, might as well pick up another Ringo because hey, let's give Ringo some love, peace and love. You know, it's an okay album. There's some nice songs though. I will give it that. The title track is actually nice. Husbands and Wives was nice. Then you have dumb titles like Snookeroo, which dumb, but it's actually not bad. Call Me, No Song, Easy for Me, and then you have a little reprise. And then there's some bonus songs here. You have Bad Luck Boogaloo, which is again a bonus song here. It's the single. Then the other song here is 6 O'Clock, which is extended, which is actually not bad. Like I said, I mean, it's not like an album you need to hear, but you know, it's actually not too bad. It's not, I mean, I know Ringo's had some bad albums, but yeah, I think this is just okay. Some nice songs. So again, still want to give love to Ringo, and also gotta love that strange like sci-fi thing he's going for, but you know, yeah, thumbs up, I guess. And now we're going to talk about the Struts. So the Struts are a pretty more modern band. I think they started in, I forgot what year, like 2016, 2018, 17, something like that. And this is their second album from 2018. This is called Young and Dangerous. And one thing I know about the Struts is that they're kind of known because they have a very strong glam rock, sort of power pop aesthetic, very strong influence of it. And I know one of their influences, Queen. I mean, for one thing, look at the lead singer. I mean, you cannot tell me the lead singer is putting on like a Freddie Mercury homage or something. Very similar hairstyle, especially during the 70s. And even vocally, you can definitely hear that Freddie Mercury influence, just how he pronounces certain words. Like, I'm not going to say it's like verbatim like Freddie Mercury, because it's still his own thing, but you could definitely tell he has that very anthemic, very powerhouse vocal, which, you know, very good stuff. So I would definitely want to check out the debut, because I think I heard a snippet of the debut one time, and I think I enjoyed what I've heard. But here this is their next album, so they're kind of some momentum, so they're kind of cashing in on some, you know, some more poppy sort of tropes, kind of more modern production for the most part. Not too much, but you definitely hear a little bit more of it. So its highlight songs are Body Talks, Prima Donna Like Me, In Love with a Camera, Who Am I, People, Fire, Somebody New, and then Tatir Magazine, and then you have Ashes. I really dug this album. I wouldn't say I love everything, but I think it's a pretty fun album. You can definitely tell they're kind of known for just maybe they're kind of like a party vibe, just have fun sort of thing. So I really dug it. I definitely want to check out more from them, because I really like their sound. And yeah, just want to give them a shout out, I guess. Alright, these next two, this is kind of a little shout out to Daryl from CD Rabbit Hole, because I know he talks about this band quite a bit, and even the next one we'll talk about in a sec. But the first one I'm going to show is The Sundays, and this album is called
The 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Actually, no, Mr. Conductor, you are right. That is the name of the album, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic. So, this is their debut album, I think, from 1990, or 1990, 1998, something like that, somewhere around that time frame. So they're kind of, I'm forgetting what genre they are. They kind of have like an indie rock sort of thing. Not quite a dream pop, not really a dream pop sort of thing, but it has a certain vibe to it. Like, it's very, very calming, but very pleasant. And it just kind of puts you in a very nice mood. And I like the lead singer. The lead singer has this very chill, very relaxing sort of voice. And it just sounds really nice. I really enjoy this one. I could name the highlight songs, but really every song in here is really good. Again, this really comes down to the vibe they really put on. Excellent stuff. So very happy to check this one out. So who knows? Maybe in the future we'll find some more. But off to a great start with The Sundays. And moving along, we have another album that I know Daryl really likes a lot. And this album is from a band called Veruca Salt. And this is their album, 8 Arms to Hold You. So, yes, Veruca Salt, another band that I hear every once in a while. Not just Daryl, but I think some other channels have brought them up every once in a while. Kind of more on the rock sort of side. This was produced by Bob Rock, who of course is a very famous producer. The most notable album I can think of, that he produced the Black Album for Metallica. And yeah, it's another really strong album. I mean, you can't really compare these two because, you know, they're kind of different sounds entirely, but I think I still prefer The Sundays, but still some good songs to talk about here. We have Straight, Volcano Girls, Awesome, One Last Time, With David Bowie, Shutterbug, The Morning Sad, Sound of the Bell, Loneliness is Worse, and then Earthcrosser. So very nice one to start with for me. I know Daryl also has an album ranking of the Veruca Salt, and I think this was number 2. So maybe we'll check out the others at some point. But yeah, so again, shout out to Daryl, CD Rabbit Hole. Make sure you check out his channel. Maybe if I remember, I'll put a link in the description to his channel so you can check him out. But let's go ahead. Let's move on. Okay, so we are getting close. We still have quite a bit, but these next 4 are from the same band. And I was watching this channel. The channel is called Runaways, and in one of his videos, he brought up this band, and it got my intrigue because he said that this band has a very strong Black Sabbath influence. Most notably, the debut album, because this is kind of more in the doom metal field, and the band is called Windhand. So I have all 4 of their studio albums. I picked up their debut album, and then after that we have Soma, and after that we have Grease's Internal Flower, And after that, we got their latest album from 2018. We have External Return. So we have 4 albums to talk about, and really I'm not going to go too in depth on each one because they very much have a very similar sound on all of these albums. I will definitely say as they progress, they definitely start to branch out a little bit more. But the debut is probably my second, if not my favorite out of the 4, because you definitely hear that Sabbath influence. Like, it's very prominent. It's a very doom-laden riffs, and I really dig the lead singer. It's a female lead singer, and it kind of she has a very lower sort of tone. But I will say the only downside of these early albums is that, you know, the vocals are kind of drowned. Like, there are times you can barely hear her, and there are many times I can't even understand what she's singing about, and there's no lyrics on any of these, so that's kind of sad. But still, I still think there's still some really good playing on here. Soma is probably my least favorite out of the 4 to me, because another thing that's worth noting about Windhand is that a lot of their songs are very long. So if you're not, and a lot of the time the song kind of stays in a similar groove for a while. So if you're not into that, then you're probably not going to dig the band so much. But you have a song called Bull Skin, something like that, and it's like 30 minutes. So it's a long album. It's a long song to get through, and a lot of these songs are over an hour. So yeah, it's my least favorite because there are a lot of times the songs don't really justify that length to me. But it's still an okay album. But Grieve's Internal Flower, I think, is much stronger. But my favorite, or again, these two kind of flip-flop, but External Return, this is definitely them kind of branching out just a tad bit more. There's a lot more acoustic guitar in certain spots, and the vocals are definitely produced in a way that they're easy to understand. You can definitely make out what she's saying more. So yeah, if you're gonna check out Windhand, I would definitely check out these two the most, and then you can check out this one, and then maybe at the end you can check out this one if you're curious. But overall, Windhand, very cool doom metal band. Very much enjoyed this stuff, and yeah, interesting stuff. And we have 2 more to talk about, and they're from the same person. We got Stevie Wonder. We have My Sherry Amore from 1969. And then following that, we have 1972's Music of My Mind. So My Sherry Amore we'll start with first. And again, it's still technically early Stevie Wonder, but by this point he's starting to find his own identity, but still not quite in that classic period, which we'll get into shortly. But still, some good songs on here, more on the poppy sort of thing, the more Motown thing you would expect. You know, the title track is great. Hello Young Lovers, At Last, You and Me, Somebody Knows, Somebody Cares, Angel Girl, and I've Got You were some of my favorite songs on here. But the rest of these songs are kind of fine, but then I'm not really into his cover of Light My Fire by the Doors. Kind of a weird combination. But very solid album. But of course, we have Music of My Mind from 1972, and to a lot of fans, this is kind of the start of his classic period in the 70s. And yeah, you can definitely hear it's definitely much more ambitious, and the songwriting is just more excellent. So highlight songs: Love, Having You Around, Superwoman, I Love Every Little Thing About You, Sweet Little Girl, Seems So Long, Keep On Running were some of my favorite songs on here. But yeah, it's another very strong album. Really dug this one, and yeah, cool to get some Stevie Wonder in the collection. So excellent finds here. Okay, there you have it. That is every CD I acquired throughout the month of July. And yeah, it was another long one, so we're kind of going back to good old me overbuying. And probably won't change for the rest of the year, probably. But still though, there was a lot of great stuff as always in here, a lot of great discoveries, and hopefully you enjoyed this entire video. In the comments below, you can let me know your thoughts on any of the CDs that I showed, and also you can share what you picked up throughout the month. But until then, we'll see what August has in store. So until then, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a like, subscribe if you are new, and until then, I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.